So why do high achieving women settle in love? Why do you settle when it comes to love? You can be exceptional in every area of your life. Career, business, friends group, everything. Like you could be really, really exceptional in everywhere in life except for love, right? And there's a real reason behind it. Achievement does not automatically give you like the key to love, right? The truth is healing things like abandonment wounds, healing things like the queen wounds, doing some of the personal development work, not just listening to it. Listening and healing are two different things. Even being aware of some of the issues that you may have is not the same as doing the healing work. Let me explain to you the difference between listening, being aware, and then doing the healing work. Okay? So when you are listening to podcasts, when you are reading about something, you have awareness. Like, I know what I'm doing in terms of this. I know how I'm showing up. I know how this affects other people. I know that this is a real problem. Now, let me share with you what healing looks like. Healing looks like, well, when it comes to the queen wound, number one, we identify like what is the primary wound, how is it showing up, what is the behavioral patterns, how does this show up in love, how does this behavior show up in love, right? Now the healing is you need to be able to identify your particular blind spots because everybody is different. Once you identify your blind spots, now what you're going to be able to do is change the behavior that creates the same outcomes that you're currently having. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Let me say that again. Change the behavior that creates the outcome. Change the behavior that creates the outcome. Now, here's the thing. Awareness doesn't change the behavior. A lot of people think it does. It does not. So I'm aware that I eat too much. That doesn't mean you won't eat the whole sleeve of cookies. That doesn't mean you won't eat the whole pie of pizza. It just means that you're aware that if I eat all this, I'm going to gain weight. Awareness and healing are not the same thing. Awareness and transformation, I should say, also is not the same thing. What you want is a true transformation. A true transformation, first of all, identifies, yes, awareness, but sometimes what's missing is those hidden blind spots that you cannot see that keeps the pattern alive. You're not aware that it's running the show beneath the surface, right? From there, then the behavioral change, you implement the behavioral change, and then all of a sudden, your outcomes start to change. Now, I know it might sound long, but I'm just going to trust that it is worth it to you to understand that difference so you know why things hasn't worked, even if you've been to therapy, even if you read the books, even if you heard the podcast, why things hasn't changed yet, why the outcome is not different yet. Because I just trust that you're smart enough to understand that there's layers and that you needed to get to the root of it, right? Also, when it comes to settling, right? When you settle, it's not always obvious, right? Because one of the things I teach is called the queen wound. And the queen wound is, especially for high achieving women, there's this deep belief that in order to be loved, I have to be less, right? That's the queen wound. In order to be loved, I have to be less. So it shows up in 4 different ways: sink, save, silence, or shield. If you're like, Queenette, what are those things? Go look at the videos. I have them tagged, in bold so you can see them, right? And go listen to each one of those, right? Those are the ways that it shows up behaviorally in your relationships, right? But the main thing underneath it all is that at the root of it is that in order for you to be loved, you have to be less. And so in romantic relationships, that's why you behave so differently. In romantic relationships, you are a completely different person. At work, you are competent. And I'm not saying you're incompetent in romantic relationship, but I'm just trying to get you to really understand, like at work, you are such a different person. Like in the field of in other places, you're just such a different person. That's why the queen wound is very specific to romantic relationship, because when it comes to love, you are a completely different person. The things you would accept when it comes to romantic relationship, you will never accept it under any other circumstances unless you have the shield. If you have the shield wound, you block everybody. You just, nobody can come in, no good, no bad. You block everything. You're that independent, can't tell me nothing, don't want nothing, don't need nobody. We talk about that too, right? So that's also that's also problematic because you're sabotaging what could have come to you as well, right? And that I can relate to because that's literally what I almost did. Okay, so another thing that the queen wound does is that it makes the less healthy option looks look appetizing. Like the men that if you heal this wound, you won't even engage in. You will easily be able to discern that this is not for you, right? So the thing with the queen wound is that it makes less healthy options look like the best options. And let me tell you why. This is so important. I said this in another video. I'm gonna say it again because it's so important. The biggest problem with the queen wound is that it distorts reality. Like I feel like I need a megaphone. Like I wanna say, you know what? I'm gonna do another video, like just by this, because I want you to understand, like the deepest problem. This is the problem that the queen wound causes. This thing, I wish I could curse it out, right? The problem it causes is that it distorts reality. Do you know what happens when your reality is distorted? Have you ever been to like what's those museums where you look in the mirror and you look different, like you look either bigger, smaller, taller, and that's what the queen wound creates. It's a distortion in romantic relationship. That's why I said do not judge yourself. Do not shame yourself. The queen wound is a cut, if you will, that was created, right? So there's no good or bad. You didn't do this. By the way, the places where it originated from we'll discuss when you book a queen wound audit, link in the bio. But it's not your fault. So there's no judging or shaming. Don't waste the energy on judging and shaming. There's other work to be done. Don't just, it happened, okay, childhood, and then the relationship, okay, cool, it was created. Okay, now I know about the 4 ways. I show up this way primarily. This is the second way I show up. But Queenette, what's my blind spots? That's what the queen wound audit is for. So the distortion creates blind spots individually in each and every one of us in a different way, which is why, like I mentioned in several videos, while I have the one where the shield is like a wall up, I had it, right? Another woman can have the shield up, but her blind spots are different from my blind spots because we're different people, okay? And so that's why I would highly suggest, if you haven't heard about the queen wound audit, click the link on my bio and go read about it and go book a session to really process and figure out what are my 3 blind spots that I need to be aware of in the future, because I keep running into the same issue over and over. How you know it's a pattern? Because it almost seems like you're dating the same man, just with a different name. It almost seems like you're running into the same relationship problem. So either the same man or the same problem over and over again. And whenever you can find the sameness in something, there's something at the root level running the show. That's what patterns do. It just runs the show. It's at a subconscious level. That's what makes it so problematic. So you think that distortion is part of you. You don't know the difference between a distortion and who you are, because it looks like the same, right? It looks like this is part of my personality, right? So that I think for me, that distortion is the biggest problem. It's literally the biggest problem, okay? Along with obviously the blind spots and how you show up with men and those sort of things. So the final thing here is, don't measure love by how much effort you're putting in, right? Measure it by the behavior that you're actually seeing. Now, if you have any of the queen wounds that I talked about, there might be some distortions in what you see that also might be contributing to the dating problems that you might be having, dating the wrong man, getting to the same problematic situation and relationship over and over. So those are 2 things to look into, okay? And if you're interested, again, I would highly recommend, if any of the things I share with you resonated, for you to book the queen wound audit and really figure out what is your primary wound, your secondary wound, how does it show up in romantic relationships. Furthermore, the most important thing you need to be able to identify is, how are these things where are my 3 blind spots when it comes to romantic relationship? Because I don't want to do this no more. I cannot go through this anymore. If you're at the age and stage where it's like, I'm just done, I need to know where my 3 blind spots are so I don't keep dating the wrong man or getting to myself in the same situations over and over again, then the queen wound audit is for you. Okay? All right. Take care.